There we go. Might be a bit slanted if you're watching it. Then again, it's not really going to matter to you, is it? Right, so if you're watching and you're seeing this bit, you're obviously not seeing it live, so thank you for being a Patreon subscriber. Like I say in them all, if you do watch these when they're not live on Patreon, let me know you watch them. I'll give you a shout out if you like, if you're into that. And if I remember, I suppose should make promises I'll forget, but still. This week's episode is about the Greys, which is a type of alien, like maybe the most known alien you would imagine, kind of thing. We'll go into it anyway in the show. I'm also going to be streaming this one on TikTok because I've been working. I've just rubbed my eye. Why has that happened? That's weird. I don't know if you can clock that. My eye, I've just rubbed there, and then the top eyelid just dropped and won't go back up. That's weird. Either way, probably an issue maybe for a doctor. The fuck? Odd. I don't know if that's, maybe it's just the angle. I'm at, fuck knows. Anyway, the when I'm gonna start in a minute, but I'm gonna be doing this on TikTok as well because I'm writing another thing at the minute, a completely new style of show which I've never done before. Working on that, so I'll be sharing it with you. I don't know, in a couple of months when I've got enough of them done. But yeah, I'm gonna be streaming on TikTok because I've not been in the studio to stream there, so I want people to still find the videos and that, so I can still earn me a couple of pennies on TikTok each day from people finding my videos and that. So hope you don't mind, but I won't be keeping it on there. I'll just be keeping it on Patreon for you guys. Who's watching as well? There's one person there watching. Say hello, who are you, before we get going? Don't really need to intro it on TikTok or out like that because people won't see the beginning, so it don't really matter. Come on, who are you? Who's sat watching me? Oh yeah, giving it a little like. Giving it a little like, eh? Come on, but you're being quiet, aren't you? Eh? Say hello. If I seem like I'm in a weird mood, it's like a different mood to normal. I feel like I come into these and I'm normally more serious, I do take them seriously, but it's because I've spent the day talking to myself in my head in 5, maybe 6 different voices. So I've wound myself up to a level, an extent where I've never really done before. I've also been speaking to myself out loud in maybe three or four different voices while I write the script for this other thing I'm doing. So that's something interesting to notice, that it's actually changed how I am. Oh, people have found the TikTok now as well. Oh, someone said they're in love, but I missed your username, mate. What was your username? Where's it gone? There we go. Impillo, Yempillo. Oh, buzzing, mate. Aren't you the one that's just found this? Do I like Sprite? Nah, not really, mate. I'm not really a big fan of Sprite. I think it tastes pretty boring, innit? It's a bit too bubbly and all. Really, Sprite's always bubbly. Like, I like a bubbly drink. I like Coke in it, but Sprite's just a bit plain, innit? Not much flavour to it. Hello, TikTok people. I'll be starting the show in a minute. Please share it around, if you can, invite some people. Hello, Dan Woodward. Dan Woodward's here. Dan Woodward's everywhere. He loves his. Right. So, who's the second person? There's another person watching live on YouTube. This is mental. We never have 2 people straight off the bat. I feel like I'm massively wasting the Patreon subscribers' time by doing this, but we can have 5 minutes to all say hello to each other first. Why did you ask if I like Sprite? 3 people. Insane. 3 people watching my YouTube stream, mate. That's mad. It does taste a little bit like TV static, to be fair. Although TV static's got it's quite nice, isn't it? It's kind of got a bit of TV static's got a bit of a buzz to it, a little bit of something. TV static as well is one way that they think that the Greys try to control us and talk to us, and some other people think that the Greys we try to combat them by having TV stuff. Oh, dissident, nice one, man. What sort of butterfly was it? Was it one in resin or was it one in a pot? Well, I now do podcasts, mate, weekly radio shows and oh, Dan, if it's a mystery box, I can't remember if it is. You're right, I know. All right, mate. If it's a mystery box, Dan, film yourself opening it, mate. Resin. Oh, buzzing. I've tried doing more of them, man. They've not really worked out. Not been able to do them and get any more or anything. Like, I just fucking not really done much butterfly stuff. But we're gonna get started, guys. Oh, thank you, Dan Wood. That's very kind, mate. It's very kind of you. There's I post out most Fridays, so if you'll get it by like Monday, Tuesday the next day. Still though, mental that there's 3 people on the YouTube watching. My eyes, mate, my eyes are fucking look fucking weird. I have properly wound myself up, so this should be a fun one. Might end up doing some of the voices in it because they're fucking rattling around in my head. But we'll get going, eh? We'll get going. Just do a little test for this. Hello, how's that? Is that? Can you hear me on there? Yeah, that's picking that up. Let's see. Hello, how's that? There we go, buzzing. Yeah, a lot of people put them on the Christmas tree, mate. The butterflies. It's quite nice. Have you had a look at my website recently, man? There's loads of new resin stuff on there now. Nothing really you could hang on your tree. Have you seen me ball flickers, mate? I make them out of like rat skin and duckling skin. I've got bobblehead ducklings as well at the minute, and headless ducklings. All sorts of different stuff, man. Probably loads of new stuff since you've seen. If you last time you was on there and you got the butterfly, loads of completely different stuff on there now. Like I've changed it up a bit, and I've wrote 2 books as well since then, Dissident as well. So that's something you might enjoy. But stick around, man. You might enjoy this. This is going to be me talking to myself in a cupboard for the next, I'm going to guess 50 minutes if all goes well. Little swig of water and then we'll go. Right. So it's quite exciting. I don't normally have an audience on here straight away. It's fucking weird. We've got 3 over there, 2 over there. And I can still hear like fucking 3 or 4 different voices of me saying this stuff in different voices as I'm speaking, which is bizarre. You're right, guys. I'm the world around you, and this is Pause for Thought on Threshold FM. And this week we're going to be blurring the lines between race and colour. They come over here, they take our women, they get them pregnant in ways that we could never even imagine, mate. They have little to nothing to do with most of their children, they replace us in our places of work. They've spent the past couple generations taking over the media, seeping into television, infesting the brains of the world's population with ideas of acceptance and blind obedience. Decades spent mixing up different races until we get the perfect, complete being. Now, when you mix up most colours in a pot, what do you get? When you don't know something for certain, it's a composite of shades of what? If you say anatomy to a middle-aged woman, what's the first word that comes to her mind? Grey, mate. Grey to them all. Mix up some colours, you'll normally get grey. The world's made up of varying shades of grey. Middle-aged women loved Grey's Anatomy when that was about. And if you mix up different races, seems like you get greys no matter what. You mix a reptilian with a human, you get greys. Mantids with a humans, you get a grey. Mix a tall white with a human, you get a grey. So I figured we should look at these creatures that seem to be everywhere and nowhere. Factually speaking, it's a bit of a grey area. Obviously, if you've not worked it out now, we're talking about the greys. And let's have a song. This is Alone With Me by Hopsin. Well, as far as intros go, I think that's a solid intro there. You're right, Andy Royd. I might not be able to answer you guys while you're talking, just so you know, because I'm recording this. But I will when I can. Throat's dry as fuck. I've been eating biscuits for ages. The literal grey area where these guys supposedly stem from is what we refer to as the Orion constellation. Possibly, and in all honesty, my favourite star constellation. I've always found it weird, innit, how it's always seems to be in the middle of the sky, like we're being forced to look at it, and now it always feels like it's a bit closer than the rest of the stars because it looks so much bigger than the rest. Now, a lot of people seem to say that the greys originate from the planet known as Zeta Reticuli, but I've also found people that suggest they're actually from the solar system that has developed around a star called Betelgeuse, which, weirdly, it isn't a word that's got a red line under it when you put it into Microsoft Word or on the internet using Grammarly. So maybe there could be a little bit of truth behind this one already, straight off the bat there, like they know the word exists. Now, if these things were made by aliens, Microsoft Word and Grammarly and the internet and that, right? If that was all made by aliens, of course they're gonna put the fucking home star system on there, like because Betelgeuse is spelled Betelgeuse, right? That's not a fucking word. Zeta Reticula, that comes up as a word that accepts them as known words. They're accepted. Yet if I put a capital letter and then like face plant the keyboard and pull it back again, that doesn't mean that it accepts that as a noun or is it a proper noun? I think it's a noun, just a general noun. It doesn't accept it, so they know that they're words. Anyway, either way, right? On their original planet, the Greys, they pretty much fucking ruined it, mate. They decimated the whole thing with their constant need to create better and better technology. So have they brought that better technology to us? Is that what they're doing? Now this suggests that they were somewhat blinkered or that they had poor vision, which is kind of ironic when you take into account that they've got fucking massive eyes. A look that sort of coupled with their spoon-like heads and grey skin, it is a look that's become iconic and it's loved and enjoyed the world over, isn't it? Like you think of a little green man, what do you think of? You think of a little grey guy with big eyes, But now they'd never feel that love though. They would never feel the love from us because according to scientists and historians, greys are completely devoid of all emotion. They apparently eradicated it from themselves over their span of life on the surface of Zeta Reticula, but maybe their emotions got the better of them when they were forced underground to survive after destroying all of their plant life. Maybe they started to feel just a little sprinkling of shame, or some sense of pride was tarnished, and they were like, "We gotta fucking get that back, mate." Fucking hell, And personally, on a personal note, I believe that they developed into a whole new species whilst living underground. Now I can't find any evidence for that, but I do think that's what happened because that would then explain the massive eyes. An evolution that we mostly witness on Earth for our nocturnal species, for things that want to see in the dark. So it makes sense that they would need larger eyes to be able to continue thriving in the dark. And they must have thrived for a while in it because they're now spread all across the known universe, at least according to some experts. Now I was wondering though, if there's a possibility that they are the old inhabitants of Earth. There are beliefs, right, that they're the future inhabitants of Earth, not as in like the conquerors and they're going to take over, but as in they're us, just of the future, like like the Goobaks, if you like, in South Park. Well, it's easy to use South Park references in it. We've all seen it. We all know what it is. So I tried to see, right, if I could find anything on Earth that resembles them or would add to my theory of us constantly evolving as a being. In the same way that in Pokemon, Charmander is one creature, Charmeleon's another, Charizard as well as a totally different creature. They're all got different traits and that, but in reality, they all are actually the same creature somehow, which never really gets explained. So maybe it's more like Digimon where we start off as one creature. Say we start off as a single-celled organism, deep down in the sea, and we develop into a human. Then again, we don't have to imagine that. That's actually what happens, though, innit? We start off as two single-celled organisms, an egg and a fucking sperm, right? That's what happens. So who's to say that whatever our consciousness is can't turn into something else? Like we from this point here, we can become a grey, which can become a reptoid, which can become a Draco, which can become a winged Draco, which we'll get into a little bit later. Just teasing you, just teasing you. I don't want to ruin anything for us. So, because our lives as a sperm cell, is that's incomprehensible, and we can't remember that. Just like how to most, other than me and you listening, it'd be unimaginable. Just it's like imagine becoming another species, like a whole new species entirely. Like once whatever we deem death happens, like maybe, right? Maybe they exist in this other plane, Greys, and whatever we are is actually just shifting from one dimension to another. So we're not humans. Maybe we are this sort of living consciousness, and we're gonna move from living in these humans to the next dimension up, which will be Greys or whatever it would be. Now, there used to be beliefs, right, that aliens or the bogeymen, the Fae, and extra dimensional entities, which I always get to mention, that they would enter or appear from cupboards or wardrobes, which you might remember me mentioning in Truth Seeking last week, if you listen to that on Threshold FM every Thursday at 7. But what if that's how we just perceive it, So we see them coming out of doors, and they realise that say the humans see a vagina as a portal to the world almost, you know. So like I know that the baby, spoiler alert though now, you know, spoiler alert for anyone listening, but I know that the baby can't be made without the penis going into the vagina and out of the vagina and into the vagina and out of the vagina and then back into the vagina maybe like 5 or so times. But a lock can't be used without the key, if you get what I mean. So they both make a complete mechanism. And back in the day, right, I bet the lock and the key were both made by that same blacksmith. So what if there's some level of scientist or creator in the lower dimension that's learned how to create uh, whatever's in a sperm cell and whatever's in an egg cell that mixes together to create a thing that we define as sentient? That, I mean, that can't be out the realms of possibility, innit? I hope I've not lost anyone there. That all seemed a bit fucking like airy fairy and not in a way, but do you know what I mean? Like maybe someone in these other dimensions has figured out a way of creating something that means that they can then make this thing, which then becomes us, but in turn actually just becomes them, but they can never quite aim for it. But I mean, I said realms of possibility there, though. But I mean, sticking with realms, could that be why they've got the massive eyes though? Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like maybe they've got the Greys have these massive eyes to allow them to perceive various realities or the worlds that are within other worlds. Anyway, we have gotten we're a little bit lost there. So there is a species on Earth though, right, that resembles a Grey. So we're talking about single-celled organisms, and a small organism that does resemble a Grey that is on Earth that kind of ties into all of this is called a giant ostracod, which isn't like a long neck fish, right? Because I know that's probably what people are thinking, because that's what I kind of assumed it to be from the name. But it looks like some tiny form of crustacean, which if you remember back all the way to the episode I did about shrimp, I did prophesize about this, about the aliens living down in the sea. Now, these creatures themselves, these exist about 2 kilometers beneath the surface of the earth, of the Atlantic Ocean, should we say, which does kind of tie them in with Atlantis as well. But what if Atlantis was never truly lost? And what if we just lack the brain chemistry or scientific apparatus to perceive the world that exists, 2,000 meters below the surface of an ocean? And maybe that's why there are waves, the wakes of waves, they kind of look a bit like TV static in it. And plus, if you go deeper and deeper down into the oceans, it's all pitch black. Or, or is it so that we can't well, it is to us, isn't it? So is it that way so that we can't see, or it just happens so that we can't see it, and it seems completely empty apart from, fucking mental looking fish with millions of teeth and light bulbs on their heads, or these weird shrimp creatures. But what if we can pass through that because we don't exist to it, and then to the shrimp and to the fish? We're the equivalent of their ghosts, meteorites, or whatever other myths and made up things you can think of. One thing, right, that uses the veil of nighttime and the cover of darkness, though, there's a sexual deviant, a pervert. And could that be why some people believe the first Grey was brought to Earth through a portal? Like the portal that was supposedly created by Aleister Crowley when he was exchanging bumholes with his sex magic partner Neuberg, and they met that spiritual being that at the top of my head I can't remember the name of. Anyway, let's have a song, and then we'll have a look at the more, I guess, esoteric interpretations of where the Greys actually come from. This is House of Games 2 by Locksmith and R.A. the Rugged Man. Right, so we paused it there. What's going on here? Thank you, Raytrix. There's been comments happening on YouTube, guys. This is very unusual. What's going on? The Greys kind of are a part of the simulation theory. Some people believe that the Greys are in control of the simulation in regards of like they do the day-to-day operations of it, the day-to-day handling of the situation of the simulation theory, whereas there's actually someone above them who's in charge of them. Even though apparently the Greys are the most intelligent alien species out there, so it's hard to know. It's hard to know for sure, innit? You know what I mean? Thanks for watching on TikTok, guys. If you're enjoying this, you can find the full shows in the link to me on my bio, guys. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can find the other shows on here. I feel like I'm racing though when I'm talking here, like I'm talking very quickly. I try to make every week that I do kind of feed on from the last week or a few weeks before, to just to try and give this a bit of, I guess my uni teachers would say, a narrative, a little story to it, if you like. And this one this week with the Greys kind of does lead on from last week's show about Nazis, because it takes place in 1946. I mean, no other links apart from the time frame and the fact that I'm about to talk about a rocket fuel scientist. What I'm going to talk about though now, which I don't think you'll ever have heard of. I mean, I hadn't heard of it, and I fucking love me alien gear. So this is about the Babylon Workings ritual, and from what I can gather, it also took place much like the Aleister Crowley and Neuberg fiasco. This also took place in a desert, surrounded by sand in the Mojave, which I think the Mojave is actually now home to Area 51. So that's kind of weird. But instead of a wily magician and his unusual apprentice slapping balls in the desert sun, it was allegedly the founder of Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard, and a guy called Jack Parsons working together in a magical sense. Not I'm not saying that in like the poetic, biblical sense, to create life in front of their very eyes. Although they were trying to create life in front of their very eyes, but not in the sense of they were trying to impregnate one another. Now, many people claim it was a failed experiment in it, but I've also found people that say that they succeeded in being the first people to actually welcome an elemental into the material world. Now, again, another little callback here. Elementals, if you remember them from, I think, the Gnome episode that we did ages ago, the gnome stuff. I think they were classed as an elemental, or we at least, I know they were in me notes because I went back into them for this. But they're another thing that are associated with the fae or the fairies or that sort of creature. The elementals. The elementals are almost a way of categorizing these other creatures, if in a sense. So this kind of solidifies my hypothesis that, because obviously this isn't a theory, it's not based in fact, because I'm just making it up. So this is a conspiracy hypothesis coming from me here, for those of you that aren't aware. But it solidifies my idea that aliens of modern day, the fairies and the fae of folklore, and ethereal entities like the jinn or the demons, they're all of the same ilk. Like they're all like it's a kind of like it's a way to explain something that we can't explain, or to name a creature that exists and uses a form of telepathic. That was a weird way to say it. Telepathic, wasn't it? Telepathic power. It's because I'm trying to think so far ahead and my notes are scratchy. But it uses like a form of telepathic power to present itself in a way that can be understood when taking into account societal norms of the period. So what I mean by that there, just because I got a bit stumbled, by telepathic power, I mean maybe these creatures that we saw as fairies, and before that we saw them as demons, and we saw them for a bit as ghosts in like Victorian times, I guess. Now we see them as aliens. Maybe they're the same thing, but imagine like maybe like let's explain it as like they're all Wile E. Coyote, right? In the Looney Tunes, but Wile E. Coyote is trying to catch Roadrunner, and he wants to, so he dresses up as a female Roadrunner. Wile E. Coyote didn't really dress up much though, did he? Did he? Only really to try and get to try and trick other people. Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny's a better one, but we'll stick with Bugs Bunny. It makes more sense. Bugs Bunny would dress up as a woman to try and trick Yosemite Sam. It's still Bugs Bunny, just it's Bugs Bunny in a dress with a bit of lippy on, and then in the next scene, Bugs Bunny might be dressed up as a hunter to try and scare Elmer Fudd away, but it's still Bugs Bunny. But Elmer Fudd's seeing another hunter because Elmer Fudd would accept from another hunter the information. Oh, there's a hunter here. He's saying nothing's here. All right, fair enough. I trust the hunter. Yosemite Sam was a bit maybe less likely to believe another pirate, but or was he a gold digger? I think he was a prospector, one of Yosemite Sam. But he was less. He wasn't going to believe another prospector because they're just trying to take his profits. Whereas he will listen to a woman because he wanted to get his end away. Do you know what I mean? So they present themselves in a way that is acceptable to the viewer. So the viewer back in the day was understood the idea of demons from Christianity, or the jinn from other ideas. They understood the idea of the fairies and the fae and gnomes and elementals. Does it make sense? I'm hoping that makes sense. I don't want to keep going round in circles on that. But the whole point of the Babylon Workings experiment was to get a woman to give birth to the whore of Babylon, which seems really weird, innit? But I can't help but wonder if it's just a way that Christianity has taken something and then assigned negative connotations to it. But I mean, I'm not 100% sure. I know that having sex on a beach is weird because sand's pretty abrasive, and once it's in your shoes, like your shoes are ruined. So if you've managed to get that sand in, in your foreskin, your fanny, or your arsehole, then you must be a total write-off, innit? But I think it's weird at all to try and make a child, and for you to want that child to be known as the whore, whether it's the whore of Wythenshawe, the whore of Devon, the whore of Lincoln. It doesn't matter. The whore of Babylon doesn't mean that it doesn't make it better. I mean, I think Babylon was an entire country, so kind of impressive in a way to be known as a title's a title, I guess. But to think that at conception that I want my kid to be called the whore of this is fucking weird, mate. But maybe this could all be part of some form of psyops, like a psychological operation that's going on at the moment, making people think about child sex trafficking and Epstein and other pedos. Now, I'm not saying it makes the children whores, but using word association, a trick used by psychologists, so-called scientists, it's easy to see how this could all be part of an intricate plan to bring this, what should we call it, mystical being into existence through sheer will and I guess it does that. Anyway, possibly, by making people associate things like this, they could together, right? It could change the world's perception of the creatures currently known as greys from unsexy grey people with no genitals to possibly quite sexy redheads, who are mad for the dick. Do you know what I mean? Like they'll literally bend over backwards for you. Like aliens that up to now been quite helpful in it, but they're not putting out as much as what they used to. It seems like I think the fairies used to put out a bit, but the aliens don't really put out a bit. They just sort of abduct you and extract your sperm or your eggs and do their own thing in a test tube. But if they could pretend to be, a good-looking woman or a good-looking man or whatever, you could argue that the perception of the Fae as baby stealers was improved by having aliens impregnate women on spaceships as a science experiment. But now, with the big sexual awakening where you can be attracted to every man and his dog, you could conceal these creatures in the real world in the way that succubi and incubi were said to inhabit the world in ancient times. Is in plain sight, just bent over around the back of Weatherspoons, hands on their ankles, ready to receive the seed of a human in order to create a new version of whatever the new type of tall grey would be. Anyway, this Jack Parsons guy seemed to be big into his sex magic from what I've heard and read. So he seemed to always be cracking one out onto these sacred parchments as well, I've heard, or holding sacred parchments in order to give them power whilst he's wanking. So what if this is what computer technology is? Phones, tablets, computers, all made possible from technology that many believe was gifted to us by extraterrestrials. So what if these creatures were able to seep into the mind of a scientist or an inventor to create computer chips from sand? But realistically, it could have been made from anything because everything is just made from atoms that we categorize then into different things to make the world easier or in order to limit our power in the world or our understanding. But anyway, at a base level, it's all made out of atoms. Something that may have been understood by the creature that guided Crowley through his life, because as some of you may know, it's rumoured that the depiction of the creature he said was his guardian angel was exactly the same as what we now refer to as a grey alien. But it was understood by these beings, right, that everything is anything. And then it can be anything because it's all atoms. So maybe they thought this planet's got an abundance of sand. This reality's got loads of this stuff. We'll just show it here out of sand. I'll pick it up out of sand, click my fingers. Here's a computer chip. Or maybe they showed the scientists how to make chips from sand because, they kept getting pulled into this world by perverts shagging on sandy dunes. So maybe they thought it was just something, everyone did. Or just because it was there, maybe they thought, this is where they come to create life. They come to create life on the sand. I'll show them how to create something out of sand. What I'm saying is that the sand is like the bailiff's foot in the door. They're on your property now. You've invited them in like a vampire, but they can't stay because the link wasn't strong enough. But by teaching perverts something like silicon chips means that it's all inevitably become associated with porn somewhere else down the line, because obviously these don't experience time in a linear way, which is exactly what happened. We all now have little portals in our hands that access porn in order for us to relieve our leaky tips and give power to whatever mobile phones really are, if you was to believe in all this magic stuff. In the same way that people reckon you'll fall in love more with her if you make eye contact when you come. Maybe by staring at a phone whilst you ejaculate, it's made you bond with it, giving that phone power. Like how it said that some modern day magicians will masturbate while staring at the goals or to-do list. I just need to plug my phone in. I'd forgotten to plug it in. It's gonna die. It's gonna die. Someone's saying on TikTok, hire him as a radio host. That's what this is, mate. Oh, bollocks. Come back. Come back. Oh, well, that. Hey, fucking hell. I am a radio host, mate. Someone wants me to say chicken. I'm on Threshold FM, mate, on a Wednesday, tomorrow. Right, carry on. What are we up to? It said that L. Ron Hubbard, had a vision of a woman riding an animal, which seems to coincide apparently with a tarot card and with other depictions of the Whore of Babylon. Supposedly, though, this happened whilst Jack was cracking one out in the Mojave to try and invoke, quote-unquote, Babylon. Now, Jack then came back and went on about something called Liber 49, which sounds kind of German, which was a document that, in all honesty, I can't remember anything about. I've just got Liber 49 written down. And I remember he either thought it up or remembered it or found it. Anyway, Ronnie Hubbard, he described his vision of the Whore of Babylon in the same way that Billy Joel described the woman in his song Always a Woman. I mean, not word for word, but he said, she is flame of life, power of darkness. She destroys with a glance. She may take the soul she feeds upon the death of men. Compared to Billy Joel's, she can kill with a smile. She can wound with her eyes. She only reveals what she wants you to see, and it goes on and on. But there is a lot of similarities there. Now, I think the song's just a rewording of the L. Ron Hubbard quote. Now, have you ever wondered if that's all that music is? I mean, I don't mean the stuff that's made by a group of mates in a shed and that, things like that, but the famous songs that reach the radio, and especially the ones that get played over and over all the time. Surely they could easily be magical incantations, or if not magical incantations, maybe just a way of getting a person to accept a new way of thinking and perceiving the world because it makes you sing along, which means you've then heard them words coming out of your mouth. So you start to normalize whatever concept you're singing about. Even if that isn't magic, surely it's a psychological trick. And I know I keep bringing up psychology, and that's because I'm determined to show you how Carl Jung's death fits into all this esoteric stuff about greys. There was a document, right, found in 1945 by a bloke called Muhammad al-Saman, consisting of 13 documents called the Nag Hammadi, N-A-G, new word, H-A-M-M, M for mother, A-D-I. The Gnostic texts written in about 300 AD, or I think 300, 400 AD, around that time, with a couple extra Gospels for the New Testament and a bunch of other historical documents. Now, Gnostic beliefs tie in with a lot of conspiracy theory because it lends itself to David Icke's theory that the whole world itself is an inversion of reality. Now, Gnostics believe that the God Christians currently worship is actually an evil deity, whilst there's this unseen deity known as the hidden God, which is actually the good deity. And I'm not going to go into Gnostic stuff, or we may cover that another time, but these documents, right, that were found in the jar underground, they were found, they had the stories connecting how the guy found them. supposedly had stories about a jinn and some blood feuds. But anyway, one of the documents was gifted to Carl Jung, and it's believed by some that his death was a direct result of owning the document. Not in the sense that it was cursed or out like that, nothing like hocus pocusy or weird, but because someone wanted to either keep it a secret or keep it quiet. So why was it gifted to Carl in the first place? Was it gifted so that he could implement its teachings into the science of psychology? Or was it so he could use his understanding of psychology to start people believing in greys? The rest of the story here of Jack Parsons is interesting, but completely unrelated to greys and aliens. I mean, someone should definitely make a film about his life. It touches on Scientology, aliens, religion, archaeology, gangsters because of the way he dies, rockets and rocket fuel, and the court case, you know. So there's a little bit, it's mental, you know, a lot of potential. There's something for everyone. I might cover him in an episode, but we've gotten pretty lost in the Mojave here, which, you know, as I said, fucking Area 51's there. So keeping it kind of make it sense, you know. And that's kind of a link. And speaking of links, this is Inside Job by Russ. What we saying on YouTube? What you guys saying? We've been short, yeah, man. Well, thank you, Dissident. I'm glad you think I come across well and coherent. If you're enjoying, oh, fair enough, Dan. This saying we got two. Well, I appreciate you being here, Dan. If you're watching this on TikTok and you want to see more of these guys, join the Patreon. The people on Patreon get access to these video recordings, offer better quality from over that part of the cupboard. I don't know what else to say to you about that, really. Patreon subscribers also get copies of my ebooks, so that's something, you know. No matter what you give on there, you get access to them. I'll have a swig of my brew before it goes cold. I don't think anything's going to go cold in this cupboard. Oh, lucky I paused it. It's time for the Here's How. Let's have this week's Here's How. And this week, here's how to save time. Before you read a book for the first time, scan your eyes over each page first, you know, from front to back. That way, your brain already knows what words to expect and won't waste vital time working out the words when you actually come to read it in the future. Get a slow cooker and fill it up with water, leaving it on all day, and then just scoop water out of it with a mug when you want a hot drink. Keep all your curtains closed, that way you don't have to lose precious morning moments opening them. Eat the same food every single day. Blend it all into a paste, add an egg, flour, cornstarch, milk, half a tablespoon of cumin and a pinch of salt and pepper. That way, you don't have to prepare your evening meals anymore and you can just cook it up. Plus, because it's the same every day, you don't have to do washing up anymore because you're just leaving old food on the food that's going to be the new food. That's the same food as the food you're going to be eating. Buy 48-hour antiperspirant. Over a period of a number of years, eat food that's cooked about 0.5% less than it was the week before, allowing your body to slowly adapt until you're either barely cooking the food at all or eating it flat out raw. No successful person has time to go to the gym, so whenever you're walking, just lunge for 5 steps. Walk for 5, then lunge for 5 more. When you're coming back from the shops, hold your bags above your shoulders, and when you're shagging your missus, get a couple sly push-ups in without her knowing. Have a relationship with a family member. Getting to know new people is difficult, scary, but also time-consuming. You already know Uncle Barry, Auntie Steph, and your older sister. Another bonus of this one is that you can play them all off against each other. Steph's not getting upset that you're slipping one up your sister. If they're a direct relation, you may not even have to move out either, meaning you won't have to sit on hold on the phone at 18 when you'd be moving out your house in order to set up your new council tax or water bill. You're already down for the house. The incest incentive. If you're a smoker, carry a wearable candle, mate. That way, you've only got to use your lighter once a day to light the candle, and you don't have to waste time rummaging around your pocket or your bag for a lighter. Remove the manhole cover in your garden, place a little commode frame over it, and now you can shit straight into the gutter. No need to clean your toilet or flush your chain and wait to see if it needs a clean or needs a rub with the brush. And that's the end of this week's Here's How. What did we think of the Here's Hows, guys? Oh, this is I've forgotten to press this thing here, haven't I? In the comments. It's annoying. There we go. I can now see all the comments that come through on TikTok. I fucking always forget to press it. That should be a thing. You can just press it and it's done forever. Excuse me. A bit of water. Nice one, Mad Venoms. Mad Venoms, do you listen to the other Here's Hows, mate? If you do, if you don't, there's a link in my bio, mate, where you can find them all, man. If you enjoyed that, there's loads more. Am I recording this? Bollocks. No, good. So getting back into the greys, right? We've got two types of grey. We've got the short grey and we've got the tall grey. The short greys seem to be the more natural, or at least the closest to the original grey, whereas the tall greys are thought to be grey human hybrids. And it seems like the greys are managing upwards as well. They create these humanoid hybrids with their own DNA in order to have them oversee the day-to-day operations of the shorter greys. These grey human hybrids make the perfect floor manager. So I don't know if you've ever worked in a big shop, but you know, they're less intelligent and seemingly incapable of free thought compared to their shorter counterparts. Now, the shorter greys make up the workforce, and I would say they seem that, you know, I would say they're happy with it, innit? But obviously they're not, because they're completely devoid of all feelings, so they couldn't give a shit, really. The workforce, right, though, they're more intelligent, as you'll probably be aware if you've ever worked anywhere with other people. And realistically, though, personally, I think that's how it should be. I'd like to think if I was going to hire someone, you know, when I'm older, or I end up with the business gets bigger or whatever, and I have to take someone on, I really hope I had the money to be able to hire someone who's a lot smarter than I am. Because what's the point of hiring idiots unless you just want to be able to lord it over them? You want problem solvers, in it, not people that just follow orders and run into obstacles rather than running around them or jumping over them, or you know what I mean? Now, there's another race of greys that we do know about, and that's the large-nosed greys that landed in New Mexico at Holloman Air Force Base. And apparently, there are even video recordings of when some high-up military personnel had a meeting with some similar aliens in 1971. But unfortunately, I haven't seen the footage. Now, we touched a little bit on hierarchy a minute ago with the middle management, you know, things like that, with the tall greys are in charge of the short greys. But there's a lot more to it than that. It seems like the Society of Greys takes on a complete multi-level hierarchical structure, with the winged Dracos right there at the top, as far as we're aware. But then, you know, you've got to bear in mind that our shadow government is still at the top of us, but the Draco reptilians are in charge of them. So could there be someone or something above the Dracos? Well, we may never know. I've heard, though, that there are rules at ITV to say that you can't discuss or show illustrations of reptilian aliens on telly. So if they don't want us seeing them on This Morning, then they probably don't want us knowing they themselves have a boss or someone that they kick up to, because it's not going to look good, is it? It's not going to make them seem as intimidating, I guess. Even though they would still be fucking scary as fuck, if you know. Do you know what I mean? But then you think, you've still got a boss. You're scared of someone else. So then you're immediately more scared of whoever they're scared of, no matter how scary that person is. Now, on the next rung, let's say the next rung down, from the top, are the non-winged variety of Draco, described as some as slightly robotic, but described as everyone as the brawn of the operation. And I'm not surprised, mate, because they often exceed 7 feet tall, they're weatherproof, and they're built like brick shithouses. There are other levels as well, and I can't remember the exact structure of the societies. As far as research shows, the Greys are at the bottom of this hierarchical ladder, but they're above us as far as I'm aware. We do know, though, that the Greys are very, very deceptive. Like, they'd lie through the teeth if they had mouths, but they've no need for teeth, though, because most greys take in nutrients by absorbing liquids directly through the skins. So what if we have deodorant on Earth so readily available now, so that any grey that is living on Earth, possibly in disguise or just holidaying on Earth, can absorb nutrients and still eat? It'd explain why there's so many mad chemicals in it that we spray into the open holes on our skin in order to plug them up. That's the big they, tell us to stop sweating, use it to stop sweating and that. But the hybrids could be using them to get some nutrients from them. Still eating food, because the children's films have taught them all how to blend into society and use their bodies like other people are using their bodies around them. Maybe that's why some people take such big shits though as well. Maybe they're hybrids. The food just passes straight through them. Or those people that can just keep eating and eating but never really put weight on, they could be hybrids because their body doesn't use the food up to use anything else. But if they start spraying themselves with loads of deodorant, suddenly they start getting fatter. Do you know what I mean? Or the big fat people, they could actually be the hybrids, but maybe they never had VCRs growing up and never saw the hints in the films, so they never realised that they only need to eat to pretend when they're in public, but in private they should be going to town on themselves with a bit of a roll on. What if that's what sewers are for, all right? Because greys take on nutrients via rubbing liquids on the skin, right? And we've all got toilets in our house that take our piss to fucking God knows where. Now, it's widely believed that greys survive off of human vital liquids, and piss is just your old blood in it mixed in with whatever you've been drinking. So maybe that's why they have different tasting water around the country or coming out of the taps and that. It means that they can bottle up fucking different types of piss, if you like, more iron, more vitamin C, more vitamin A. I don't know. We believe it's the Romans, isn't it, that gave us sewers, but we also believe Romans were the greatest war machine to ever exist. So what if the Greys have used their hypnotic technology to make us think that what took over most of the world were Romans, when in fact the Romans were aliens? And that's one of the ways that they control us. They have a network of hypnotic technologies spread throughout the world. A network, like a web, a worldwide web, if you like, that spans the entire world except for certain parts of Cornwall and the Scottish Isles. Thinking about that sewer stuff though again, could that be where the stories of sewer crocs come from, mate? Crocodiles, right? Crocodiles are reptilian, innit? Maybe that's why we tell people there are reptiles in the sewers, there's crocodiles in the sewers, don't go down there, there's crocodiles, don't go down there, there's gators. Or maybe it's so that we know subconsciously there's a little bit of information there to tell us that reptiles or reptilians actually live off of our sewage. Shampoo's a weird one, I know, isn't it? Like, why flavour it or scent it? Because you just wash it straight off anyway. It just gets flushed down the plug hole, mate. That kind of adds to my idea that they're just marinating us, though. I've always thought it's weird that we just accept that we will rub, literally fucking handfuls, palmfuls of chemicals onto our skin as close to our brains as humanly possible, even though that we know our skins are pretty porous. I can't even imagine what it's doing to us, mate. Maybe that's why some homeless people come across as mental, though, because they're not showering in it as much, And if they are washing, it might not be with shampoo and conditioner, meaning that those chemicals aren't in the brain to help them properly take in whatever this fucking hypnotic web is simulating for the rest of us in the world around us. Instead, they see it from a different angle. Kind of like when you lift up the 3D glasses at a film and you just see that the film's just all blurry without them. Maybe shampoo and conditioner are our 3D glasses for the real world. Other people believe, though, that the Greys, along with their other reptilian counterparts, are actually nourished by literal human life force. I'm not overly sure, though, how that would happen, but I guess if a heart can give off different electrical pulses that can be sensed by, other creatures like sharks, again, something of it that lives in the ocean, like when we were talking before, then maybe they can pick up and use these vibrations, or possibly, it could be simpler than that. And since they can take in nutrients via liquid, that gets rubbed onto the skin, maybe they can also absorb gaseous substances too, except they'd be hard to sort of focus on and suck up and that, if it's just in the air. So that's why they have to keep the world in a perpetual state of fear, so that they can just walk around and absorb all these like pheromones in the air. Could that be why? Could that be why we used to fucking pollute the world, mate, like we did in the Industrial Revolution before the aliens as we know it? Maybe them chemicals in the air kept the aliens at bay, or was a way to feed them whilst not impacting on people's mental health as such. It's said that the Greys magnify their mental field in order to control us, and in some descriptions that I've read, it seems like another way to sort of describe the Holy Spirit. But it also sounds like the internet in a way, or mobile phone signals, or radio waves. Could that be what big buildings actually are? When you look at some skyscrapers, right, they don't look real, innit? They're oversized, and a lot of them look like they don't have enough windows for the amount of floors that we would imagine to be in them. Could they just be concealed radio masts, like the big sticks outside fast food restaurants with the illuminated logos on them? You know, because they're disguised phone masts, aren't they? Maybe that's what 9/11 was, mate. Maybe that was a human attempt to destroy one of the largest masts in the area in order to be able to make a crack appear in the network. Maybe this network, if referred to by the alien ran media, right? Maybe that network is actually known to us as the ozone layer, and that's why we're told you've got to protect the ozone layer. You must protect the ozone layer. But really, that's the aliens making us protect their own neural network kind of thing that controls us. Maybe it's so it could be a double bluff, them telling us not to use deodorant anymore because it's damaging the ozone layer, but really they want us to accept using deodorant so that they can feed themselves with the deodorant. Maybe it's so that they can use our bank accounts to track who these hybrids are. Maybe it's just the humans, using banks and bank accounts, and that's why banking's so important. And they're using, non-mainstream media to make people turn against banks. But maybe banks are good. Banks could be the heroes, because they'll be able to track the alien hybrids by finding out who's getting through 10 bottles of deodorant a month, so that a secret organization can either wipe them out, or so that the alien overlords can come and take them and have them work for them. Now, it could be that there are a variety of personalities, though, amongst the aliens, specifically, we'll stick with the Greys, because it'd be literally fucking racist, wouldn't it, to suggest that all of the Greys are the same. Maybe there are a group of rebellious Greys that work to allow as much human freedom as possible. It's a story that's told through the story of Enki and Enlil and the story of free will in the Garden of Eden, isn't it? It's believed that, by some anyway, that half the Greys are hell-bent on world or intergalactic domination, and that half of them are kind of tolerant of Greys. So that's not exactly saying they're happy with us being around, but they tolerate us. Like how you tolerate a nest of spiders in the summer because they're going to keep the flies down as it heats up. But I suppose you're probably going to get rid of those spiders when it starts to get colder, and those spiders are looking for somewhere comfy to snuggle up in the winter. But what if this is just all a nest for the Greys, like Earth, a place for the Greys to hone the craft and feed? It seems like Greys can sort of grow up as well, becoming full reptilians, becoming tall whites or mantids, which would be a complete form change. Now, if that nest has a main spot where they all congregate, though, personally, I'd put my money on that spot being in the archipelago just off of Alaska, because there's over a dozen volcanoes there, which I bet are great as a natural unlimited energy source if you're smart enough to use it, which these would be. And I also think that because I've read that these aliens literally have a base there. Now, one thing we know is that in most UFO crashes, they've always, well, they believe in most UFO crashes that they're always greys, and that they've been out harvesting human parts, because a lot of the time the dashboards of the crafts are fucking splattered, mate, in human entrails, almost like the Greys icebox has been smashed in the crash and spread intestines and blood all over the windscreen that they've been collecting. But Greys are known to be very deceptive, as I say, so they could just be hypnotising us to see perfectly scarred cows with no organs left, when in reality they've left a complex system of brushes and buckets labelled with a Sharpie simply as cow, and we see that then as a cow. But the jinn was seen to be deceptive to a degree, and the demons and angels, if you remember them, in a way, like maybe deceptive's the wrong word, but maybe more so obsessed with the literal or with semantics. Fairies as well, and gnomes, mate, they all lie. And the Greys are telling us that they come from space, right? And if we know that they lie, why do we believe them that they've come from space? They are a kind of weird evidence in themselves for the existence of outer space and other planets. A weird evidence because we don't know if they are 100% real, but it's almost as if they want to say, oh, don't believe in the gnomes that come from underground. Don't believe the greys come from underground. They come from space. They come from space. Like they're trying to make us believe that space exists. Because it is, isn't it? It's an extra way to convince people that we exist on a spinning rock in the middle of nothingness. Now, we used to believe we could keep finding new places, and we'd send out madmen on boats, mate, to find these new places. But now we just look at a book or our cum-covered phone screens, right, and accept that there are a certain amount of countries and nothing else to see. It's mental, innit, when you think about it, really. Do you know what I mean? It is, though, innit? And that people just believe whatever they read. But that's all I can really tell you, because that's all I really know about the Greys. So I reckon we'll call it a day there. Later on, we've got HDR and Jim will mix it on Threshold FM. Don't forget to listen to mine and Jimmy's other show as well, Truth Seeking. I'll fucking see you in a bit, guys. Thanks for listening. Right, so that's that recorded. I'm gonna pop that there for a minute. My ass is fucking killing me. I'll come to TikTok in a minute, guys, and I'll answer your comments and that. I'll have a look through them. Let's have a look at what you guys are saying on here. Oh, it's done. I have done some market stalls in the past, Dan. I do market stalls. I want to travel around doing different market stalls in different areas, though, as well, to properly, like, find new people, innit, who would be into it. But COVID and that's hard to do. Let's see what you lot are saying on here. I wouldn't mind. I would like to work with a badger, but you're not really allowed to sell badger taxidermy, so I'd have to keep it myself, and it seems like a kind of a waste of time for me. Thank you, Ross the Boss. If you want more of this sort of stuff, Ross the Boss, find me. Excuse me, because I've been talking so fast and so much. Excuse me. You can find it all in the link on my bio, mate. You'll find loads of stuff, podcasts, the radio shows, the live radio shows I do on a Thursday, my ebooks, my taxidermy, socials, all sorts of gear, mate. Thank you, Chloe. I'm glad you chose me for your daily distraction, mate. Thank you, Dissident. Dissident, go find on Spotify, mate. Dissident, do you use Spotify or do you use Apple? Where do you listen to podcasts or music, mate? You can find my shows there. And if anyone watching as well, if you're watching this and you think to yourself, oh, fucking my mum would love this, or you think to yourself, Gary would love this, Dave would love this, Jean would love this, send it to her, send it to him. Send a link, not to this video here, because this video is going to be unlisted and this one's never going to exist again. But I mean the actual shows or something, send it to a mate, because that's the best way to help me with them. Because they're only ever going to spread through word of mouth. Like I could tell you till I'm blue in the face, fucking listen to me show. Doesn't mean you're going to. You don't know who I am. I don't know you. I don't know what you like, innit? But you know what your mates like and that, innit? That's what you could do. You'll find it that way. Oh, fair enough, Dissident. Well, this might ease you in, this might ease you into podcasts. What you've experienced there is pretty much the podcast version. Because the radio version will have the songs in that I mentioned in the show, saying, oh, this is, fucking we're playing. I can't remember. Oh, there's a Hopsin song at the start. I can't remember the other songs I put in. Yeah, it's mashed now. But, this might ease you in, mate. If you did enjoy this, you're intrigued by it. There's loads of shows. Like I've done a show on people that shag dogs, called Dog Botherers. I've done historical people. Just whatever I find interesting in it. I just find it interesting and I do a little bit about it, Anyway, TikTokers. They are Dissident. Is it Dissident? Yeah, Dissident. Chloe on TikTok is saying, I love podcasts. Give them a go. So, then she said distant or whatever your name may be, probably because of my accent. But yeah, man, give them a try, mate. Please give them a try. Let me know what you think if you fancy it. There's 5-minute shows as well, which are the Here's Hows, which you heard during that. The Here's Hows go into the radio shows with the songs, and then I take the Here's Hows out, release them on a Sunday, and the bigger shows I then release on a Thursday. This show here won't be available as a podcast for about 3 months. I'm about 3 months ahead on the radio, 2 or 3 months ahead on the radio. But they come out later as a podcast. So yeah, that's something. Now, if you're watching this on Patreon, that's meant fuck all to you, and I'm surprised you've lasted this long. So I'm going to end the stream on YouTube. Thank you for being a Patreon subscriber. If you are watching this through Patreon, if you're watching it live as well, thank you. You know, to the two of you that are Dissident and Dan, thank you guys. But yeah, fucking. There's a page on everything's in the link tree. That's on the link and everything else. I've set up a wish list as well, but which is basically Pokemon cards and a tank because I kind of want to get a pet frog, but it's stuff that I'd never buy myself. And if you like Baz, you can buy him a couple of treats on there. I don't expect anyone to, but I've seen some of the idiots and the people that don't do anything and just sit just doing nothing on TikTok and that have set up wish lists, and I see that people buy the stuff for them. So I thought, well, you know, people say they'd like to give me money or they'd like to help me out or do this. Fucking buy us a pack of Pokemon cards, man. Cost the same as a pint of lager, and I don't really drink. Seems fair, innit? Well, Chloe, I don't know if I will get a frog. I kind of want to also set up my whole ecosystem in a big tank and see what survives. You know, set up a food chain of sorts. So we'll see what happens. What it is if I get the tank, but because I can't really buy the tank because my missus will go fucking mental. But if someone buys the tank and it's like a gift, they'd be like, "Oh, look at this! I got a tank as a gift," and I might be able to, you know, get around it and keep the tank then. But Dissident found that funny. He's laughing. Fucking, but yeah. So anyway, I've rattled on for quite a while there. But I suppose, you know, if you fucking giving me a dollar or $3 on Patreon, then maybe you're thinking, I would like to learn a little bit more about you. I've also added little books on there as well, books that'll help with the shows, books that I've read about and heard things about that are supposed to be quite good and I want to learn from. Like, obviously, there's a couple of David Icke books on there that I'd love to read. The thing is with books, whenever I buy them for myself, I never read them. But if someone else buys me a book, then I'm going to feel guilted into reading it because someone else has spent money on it. Like, I've got two books at the minute in the bathroom that I'm reading. One of them's the original Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton, and I've read about 6 pages of that. And then the other book is a book that my missus got me for my birthday about weird science experiments, and I've read about 15 pages of that, which shows. And I've had the Jurassic Park book in there for longer, but it's because I feel like I should read this because someone's got it for me, if that makes sense. So anyway, they'll improve the shows and probably change the direction the show is going for a while because, you know, fucking learning new stuff in it. Anyway, as I say, Patreon people, thank you for being a Patreon subscriber. I'm going to end the stream there. I'll see you in a bit, guys. Oh, Dan's saying he wants one of them gel ant colonies. Yeah, they look kind of cool because you can see the little tunnels through the paste and that in it. I do kind of like that. Have you seen, Dan, have you seen that, the gel fridge? That's worth Googling. Google the new gel fridge. It's a fridge where you can just fucking stick things in it. I don't know if it's an art installation or something, but I saw a video about it yesterday. I can't remember who makes it, but it seemed mad. I wouldn't really want ants though in case they escape. There's a YouTube channel that I watch sometimes. This guy that keeps ants, and every now and then they escape, and he keeps things like bullet ants in his house and that, mate, and they just get out and fucking ruin things. Obviously, because they're ants. You know, they bury themselves into plants and hide for weeks, all die, or they fucking survive and start biting everything. So wouldn't really want that, but I like the idea of keeping like a couple of frogs. Obviously, I'd want a male and a female frog, or salamander, or maybe like a newt or something, a couple of newts. I like the idea that the frogs can climb though. Give them a little pool of water so they can lay their eggs in on like what looks like a natural leaf, and then underneath have a little pool of water with maybe some shrimp or a crab in or something, and little insects in there and that as well. Maybe, you know, a stick insect or something. I just think it'd be fucking sick, mate, to have these a different whole ecosystem. I'd have to plan it and read about it and learn about it and stuff like that, but it would be what I'd like to do. Anyway, I'll fucking end the stream. Patreon people, fucking sorry for wasting your time. I'll see you in a bit, guys. It never ends when I press it. I just end up dropping the phone.